All right, we're live. Thanks for watching the VOD. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy it. Yeah, let's get into it. Probably going to bounce between Vale of Zentar and Shallow Shoals a little bit. But mostly, I think there's some stuff to wrap up in Vale of Zentar, so that it's fairly done. I'm sure we'll touch it more before we go into early access, but fairly done for now. And then we'll get started on Shallow Shoals shortly. I have to look at the schedule again. Actually, I think population for Shallow Shoals isn't on the books for a bit, but we'll probably hop in there early anyway. Since it's available. What's up, Drag? What's up, Ruger? Sarenth? Rugeroo! Thanks again for the raid the other day. Hey, Swanee. Am I doing okay this evening? I'm doing real tired. I'm like really tired. So, got a little bit of coffee. We'll see if that helps do the trick. And then we'll just kind of see what we can get done for a bit. Need a Red Bull? Yeah, wouldn't be bad. Haven't had one forever. What's up, Valeroth? Unranking says, I was a guide for EQ. Found your channel through the interviews on YouTube. Such great memories. Thank you. Thanks for checking them out. What server did you guide on? What's up, Chaz Solo? Byro. Vero. Death Rider, what's going on? Did I already say hi to Drag? What's up, Nerve-wracked? Hey, Lasava. One of the Zek servers, the RP PvP one. Don't remember which. Relics or Talos or others. I don't remember which one was RP either. Maybe Valen? Ralos was open PvP. Oh man. I'm not gonna make it. What's up, Lich? So I have a question about this island for you guys. Once folks get in here, I'll ask. Hey, G. Willikers. Throbgrave. One thing I really loved from Vanguard was the Blood Mage class. Having a toolkit to hit via causing damage was so fun. You guys have something similar in M&M? We don't, that I know of. It's come up. I mean, a number of people have mentioned the Blood Mage. Or the Chloromancer from Rift. Was it a similar approach, or are you just saying that class in general? Unranking says, I think it was the one with the special rule set. We hardly ever had petitions because a lot of the player complaints kill stealing, camp stealing was resolved with PvP. It wasn't Sulan's deck, was it? Hey, tell it. Irish 451. Shonam Gaming, hello. What's up, Dragon? So, funny story. My keyboard is getting pretty janky, and I had bought an American or English keyboard. I don't know, probably at least a year ago now, but never got around to using it. So Jasmine had it over with her laptop, and so my keyboard got bad enough that I finally decided to like get rid of my old keyboard and grab that English keyboard from her. And I quickly discovered that I've been touch typing in Swedish for the last few years without really realizing it. So Swedish keyboard, touch typing on a Swedish keyboard's not a problem. Now that I have an actual English keyboard, I thought the whole time I was switching over back to English and just remembering the right flow for an English keyboard. Come to find out, I guess I was just touch typing per the Swedish keyboard. Now it's not a change Windows setting issue. It is now I now have an English keyboard that I'm trying to type on properly, because I've switched it to English, and I've gotten rid of before the last restart, I got rid of the Swedish keyboard. I guess it's back. So now I'm like actually typing on an English keyboard, and I'm realizing that some stuff is in a different place, and the comma key, or sorry, the apostrophe key is right next to this tiny ass enter key that I've got on this keyboard. So especially in like Slack or Discord where you don't want to hit enter prematurely, I'm constantly like, there's just random I's, because I'll be like, I apostrophe have already sent the message. Shit. So, yeah, that's the fun. I have this game on my wish list. You're the dev. I am one of the people on the team, yes. I am one of the dudes. We're a team of about 31 right now, with I wouldn't be shocked if we're like 34 people in the not too distant future. When does the game go into early access, open beta, no wipe release? Grab host, here is an FAQ for you. In all caps, because of this keyboard. It's a pretty solid sized team. It's pretty beefy. We like to consider ourselves beefy. I'm good, Kenji. How are you? As I say that, I'm like, oh, everything feels like it's dying and falling asleep. Hey, Frank and Beans. Shonem said, so when I played one of the live tests, there was a back alley in the city where a high-level NPC threatened me verbally and then killed me. Please arrest him. You will have to advance in levels and go enact your revenge on your own. What's been your path so far for funding? We have not had any. We just pay. We pay for the stuff that we have to pay for out of pocket, and then everybody volunteers their team. Their team? Their time. Their team. My name is Yev. Hey, first. One storm would wipe out that reef, no village, no barrier reef. Maybe that's what happened to it. This is an abandoned island, actually. This is what I'm going to talk to you guys about right now. Domain Stark, did that answer your question? And I can tell you because we just updated our numbers. We'll get them posted on the website because we want to keep you up to date with how much we spend and all that stuff. We are at 104,000 is what we've spent since we started. Hey Sam, what's going on, buddy? What's up, Wallabies? Hey Chinny. So this island, I have I need your input, chat, and then if you're watching this VOD, I'm gonna get the VOD up pretty immediately on YouTube. You guys seem to have liked the fact that I'm not waiting 2 to 3 years to post my VODs. So I'll check the comments on this as well. So this village was originally meant to be like a tiny little village that was abandoned, some huts and stuff like that. The boat would go by, and then Simon had shown me the stuff that you guys were doing, Chinny, and I was just, and then he said, well, we're gonna, because it was like the big cliffs and stuff, which I honestly I kind of dug. It was like the idea that there's like a little lookout point that you go up and hang out on and stuff. I don't know, you guys got rid of that and you had like the little bridge going across to the other one and stuff. I kind of dug them, but anyways, for what we're gonna do here, it may not hurt to have like a little something like that. Little, what do they call it? Lover's Lane, lookout point or whatever. But so for you guys in chat that aren't Chinny, the island is grown as everything we do tends to. And so Simon had pinged me and asked what I think about the scale and whether or not, making sure we're not getting too crazy with it. And I looked at it and I was like, man, this looks pretty big compared to what I originally imagined. So my knee-jerk reaction is like, oh man, it's too big. But it may not be too big based off of CS20. May not be too big based off what we're going to do here. So this is definitely audience participation time. We have an island. It's going to have a boat path that goes by it. The boat path may just go by it and stop until people start to live here, but the idea behind this island was that it would be player housing. And essentially all of the structures are abandoned until players can afford to start renting them, right? And I say rent because you don't buy, you'll never buy houses from us because we don't want you to have the property permanently. We want you to rent it, right? So that if you're like not paying your rent or you stop playing or whatever, it goes back on the market. So this island would be player housing for you to do what you want with it within naturally the limitations of our system. But since we're wanting to push the ability for you to, you know, turn your place into a shop or, you know, it could be a home or it could be a shop or whatever. Nope, squatters' rights don't work. Have we talked about unlimited versus limited housing yet? Maybe. Pretty sure we have, depending on what you're using to define those terms. Do we have islands with a bunch of mangroves or a large central lagoon? Central lagoon, I think at least one of them. Mangroves, not that I know of. Oh, I'm trying to figure out this headache that just popped up. I've been having headaches lately. Fortunately, I've got a checkup on Friday. Can't be too much caffeine. I don't feel like I've had enough caffeine. X number of houses purchasable on the server versus instance. Yeah, so our housing is finite. At some point, if we find that we really need it, we may. If at some point we find that we really need it, we may have some form of housing somewhere that could be instance. But for now, we're sorry, I was just reading what First was saying. For now, we're keeping it in the world. Needs an arena if it's solely player island. Why does it need an arena? What if this is a very kind and loving island? What if they don't want that kind of behavior? Something to do for the degens? Maybe they don't want the degens on the island. I mean, it could be something over time where we allow you to make certain decisions like that. That's something that's talking about for the city in the middle of the continent, Terralon, that maybe you could take it over and it could either descend into a cesspit of degeneracy or you could make it a nice place. It's kind of up to you. And if it's the former rather than the latter, then maybe it's a PvP zone. Let you guys vote on it. Maybe we'll ship the node system. We'll iterate our way towards a player governance system before it's all said and done. I'm trying to think of what's an invisibility spell. Can't I just GM hide and myself? Would I still see myself? Wow, this will work. GM invis, that makes sense that there would be such a thing. Let's see. Hey, Justin Beard. What's up, Crescents? Will there be a local vendor that sells food and drink? Nope, not on this island. There will be over on that island, and there will be over on that island. If you're more of a piratey sort, you'll potentially be hanging out over here a little bit. And then for everybody else, you can hang out this island. The idea is basically it would be uninhabited until players take it over. So if there's food and drink on the island, it would be sold by players, right? Would there be a teleport home spell? Nope. I mean, there's gate, I guess. I mean, over time, who knows what sort of thing we may add? Depending on who takes over the island, can they establish a druid circle, or... I guess in theory there could be an abandoned old wizard spire that could be fixed up. Can you trade your house keys? Good question. That'd be interesting. Have two statics. That could be some sort of something can be done to basically repair them. Which zone is this? This is Shallow Shoals. I almost, like, I'm so tired and my head's actually hurting so much I almost said Swollen Shores, which was, that is not the name of the zone, but it may have to go in game. G. Wilker said, back in the day, in old school RuneScape, my cousin roleplayed as a hermit, eating rats underneath a Varrock. For some reason, I always think of that when player housing comes up. That's the kind of behavior that we like to encourage, G. Willikers. Swollen shorts? No. Now you guys are getting out of control. So, overall, what do you think? Player controlled island? Do you guys think you could wind up turning this into the East Commons of early access? Hopefully swarms of mobs invade and you have to defend your homes. Well, given that there's islands all around here with weird shit on them that people are bound to train, I don't think that'll be a problem. Hey, Quick 44. Belleroth said, off topic, but I'm curious, is Deep going to be one massive underground zone that connects everything on the surface or more modular? It's going to be a bunch of zones. There's a zone connection map and everything for the Deep as well. Like, they're discrete zones with discrete names and themes and all of that stuff. The problem with that line of thinking is there isn't a port here. So we were just talking about that, Lich. and likely not a bank, hanging out in the middle of the ocean isn't exactly the most convenient place to sell stuff. Yeah, I think like I said, I think it's not if okay. I don't. Yeah, the aspiration isn't for this to be EC. I mean, I think Night Harbor is probably going to be more than good enough for that type of behavior. I'm just kind of curious to see what this thing might evolve into. And if it doesn't evolve into anything, that also gives us a little bit of a heads up with regards to our plans for other zones in the future. Irish 451 says, I hope it doesn't get taken over by folks who have the most money and make private homes, but instead more of a mercantile area. I mean, ultimately, that's just gonna, we'll see kind of how the free market works on that one, how the community goes. Albius says, looks like Ocean of Tears to me, a zone I wish I had spent more time in. That was the original inspiration. Openobo says, I mean, what is supposed to be on this island? The island's abandoned until players start renting the houses or structures here. Is there a defined purpose for player housing? Don't know how much you want to get into it. Yeah, the core purpose is to provide you a place where you've got additional storage and, essentially just tap into the usual player housing loop, right? Customization, etc. But one of the things that we really want to promote with player housing is, because the same shop or the same system, dude, I don't know, I'm gonna make it tonight. The same system is what we'll be using for players to run their own shops, and guilds that have guild houses, and as part of trade skill progression, there'll be some opportunities there as well, in terms of instead of having to use certain public or NPC faction based trade skill. What's the term now? I'm spacing out. Anyways, like trade skill containers, you know what I mean, like forges and shit like that. But there's a specific term, I can't think of it at the moment. Then you would have access and be able to upgrade your own. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with chat and think. I seriously, I don't know if I'm gonna finish streaming tonight. Like, my head is not doing me any favors at the moment. Let me catch up on chat. Who are you renting from, lore wise? The man. You'll be renting from the authorities. What's up, Bill? Crafting stations. Thank you, Lasava. Player housing should be an MMO staple. Let's see. Will I be able to look into my neighbor's windows? Depends on the house. That's something we've got to work through. First says, I think if I had to add my 2 cents, it would be cool to take some inspiration from real world atolls, coral rim, interior lagoon that is a safe anchor, less platform docks near across water. At the moment, there's no way for a boat to leave the interior waters. Yeah, don't take this as final. Like the actual where the boat passes and other shit like that. Something I talked to Simon and Chinny about. But at the end of the day, the environment guys will do what they can, and we'll see. It's interesting you mentioned like bank and I wonder if that's something. I wonder how we would set that up in terms of. I wonder if there could be a player-driven bank. No, I'm super tired today, Bill. I thought I thought I'd be a little more energetic by the time it came to be stream time, but like 8 p.m. starting the stream at 8 p.m. my time after a full day's sometimes not the easiest, and I definitely have had headaches for like the last week or so. So I'm glad I've got to check up on Friday, figure out what's going on. Let's see. Are you doing player-controlled boats? Eventually we'd like to. It's been on our list forever, but it's not on our realistic to do for early access. Hey, what's up, Simon? We were just talking about this island. So, in theory, a boat's supposed to pass by here and stop. But the but that would just be on the regular schedule. One of the ideas for player-owned boats before we allow, like before we ever try to attempt anything like a completely player-controlled boat, was that you could own boats and then you could trigger them leaving. Basically, you could trigger the route whenever. And I'll say this loosely: there'll always be some sort of logical constraint so they don't pile up or whatever. But you would be able to trigger the boat going on your own, so that if it takes a while for the NPC or sort of the boat that's based on our system to get back and forth, and you could actually increase the frequency of boat trips. So yeah, so hopefully my inability to explain simple shit like that tonight isn't indicative of my brain melting or something. We'll see. Check my iron levels. I'm getting all my blood work done on Friday, but I would doubt that it's my iron levels. Given what we eat and the fact that I cook off a cast iron skillet almost exclusively, I think my iron should be good. I think I'm just, honestly, I think I probably consume too much. I consume too much caffeine during the day and then I crash at night or something, even without the energy drinks. Not a big fan of banks everywhere myself. Is that a non sequitur, or did I mention banks everywhere first? Wonder if there's something like the old concept of merchant houses for local state banks before the Fed that you're good with and could get notes to access a shared storage box. Oh, another thing to keep in mind is this will probably cause some people to like maybe get upset or whatever. We're discussing banks being local to that specific city. So I don't think you have to worry about banks being everywhere. And then working that into, so like if you want to transfer all of your stuff, then that goes back into caravans and ships and things like that. And if you want items delivered, then you can have them delivered by couriers. What's up, Smiley Bobber? Cedar says a mix of coffee and chicory does it for me, way smoother. Yeah, this is a relatively recent thing though, so because usually I was like consuming like a couple of months ago I'd be consuming like a Red Bull while we're kicking this off. So I don't know. Have you given any thought about a correlation to how much time you spend in front of the screen? Nerve-wracked, I have actually, and that may be part of the problem. I've realized that I've spent a fair amount of chair time lately, and the headaches only seem to happen while I'm sitting at my desk. So, let's see. I had that issue when I went off energy drinks, swapped to coffee. Maybe that's it. Maybe I just need a little bit more time to get it balanced out. Caffeine, caffeine. Yeah. My inability to speak is probably just my normal inability to speak. Right. Change my lighting? Nope. Nothing's changed. So Simon, I definitely will have notes on this one. You had asked, shot me a message and be like, hey, take a look and see if it's too big. When I first looked at the zone, I was kind of, or the island, I was kind of just expecting the thing that was here before. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh shit. Well, I shot you a message actually. You saw it. I think, you know, naturally it's big, but since it's not an environment where we're doing any like real base pop or anything, I think it's fine. May turn out well. I'll follow up with some ideas on some things that we may want to include. Like I saw this and was like, oh, maybe it's farm plots that you could actually, if you take it over, once farming's in, there's at least one set of farm plots. The main feedback that I'll give you and Chinny is just really looking at like the design of it, looking at where the ship's supposed to come and go, what has kind of been set up relative to that main sort of point of entry and all of that. So Smiley Bobber says, I'm actually a brand new fan as of 2 weeks ago. I hear about you guys from Pantheon Players. Bummed I did not hear about you sooner, because Eminem is a game my friends and I always wanted to describe him when we sit around and talk about our dream MMO. Oh, that's really cool to hear. Well, yeah, it's a shame you didn't find us sooner, but you're here now, and we still have plenty of time to go, so that'll be cool. Is this just off Zentar or also Keeper's Bite? Are the relative distances offshore and between islands set at the moment? This is Zentar, and then Keeper's Bite will be up there. This goes for quite a ways. Are the relative distances set? I mean, in theory, we'll be able to move stuff. That was always the discussion in getting things set up. What died in the background? Oh, just that. So it is possible that we'll move stuff around, especially once we're in here on the boat and traveling. Why do you ask, Brandon? I'm hoping we get, we want to use the mount system to get canoes in that are essentially mounts. so they come with some of the same opportunities, benefits, requirements. It'll wind up being like a subsystem. It won't be mount one for one, but hopefully we can just reuse a lot of how mounts are set up, just with maybe some stats named differently or whatever. But that'd be cool. I have a bunch of players that have canoes and stuff here. Cool. First, I just love seeing the coast for 2 zones. Real sense of world. Second, this is a feeling thing when you're there. Just wondering if you're going to be go for more dense island chain feel or more ocean tiers. This will wind up feeling a bit more like a dense island chain, but the thing to keep in mind is it's still massive. I was actually going to hit you up earlier because Ollie wasn't around, and I was going to be like, I wonder if First knows if there's some trick to trying to burn out some like a pathing mesh for this, because the zone's huge. Let's see. I'm moving at GM run speed right now, so let me just go with. I will. I'll hit you up if I don't hear from him. Like, this zone is. Don't be deceived by the fact that I'm way up there, and the camera didn't give you like a point of reference. Like, my concern right now is that the boat ride will take too long. Like, as soon as we throw a boat in here, which I guess in theory I think I can probably put a boat in. We've looked at a plan for how to represent the coastline, and that part I'm pretty confident we're going to pull off. So basically this coastline between Fallen Pass, Vale, and then Keepers, I think that's going to work. It's just, this place is huge. Is it longer than Ocean of Tears? Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Our zones are deceptively huge. That's why we have zones like Fallen Pass that I thought were going to be a small zone, and it's easily swallowed over 800 mobs. I think it's got something. I'd have to look again. I might be full of shit, but I think it's got something like. It's got more than 20 camps. Are the big zones a challenge with your team size? Not really, because it's. I mean, okay, I would say it a different way. It's just the approach that we've taken. We can't seem to get away from it. Every time we say, hey, let's make a small zone, it just never happens. And we're moving at the rate that we're moving, which so far has been okay. And we're getting content into them, so I think it's just who we are. The idea of making some really tiny ass zones, that just hasn't worked out. This zone does not go to the tip of Fallen Pass, but it basically goes down to like where Fallen Pass would meet Vale. Love the night sky. I feel like I could just chill and look at everything in environments and forget all about the experience grind. I mean, the whole idea has just been, how do we make it an experience, right? Because if it just feels like a game, if you're just sort of in the game, making number go up and it doesn't feel, you know, that it doesn't have the right vibe, then I don't know. So we're trying to be super especially attentive to just how everything feels. Smiley says slow public transport just incentivize player solutions. Good thing. Yeah, that's what we're thinking. I mean, I wasn't kidding when we were talking about maybe there could be a druid ring, or as we call them. And let me know if what you think about this name. Let me know if you think it's weird. You'll get the pun in a second. We've got wizard spires, which are all part of a, you know, this isn't super different from like EQ. We've got our old civilization as well. Kind of like, yeah, now I'm saying out loud, kind of like the Combine was, but much different and much older. So the wizard spires tap into ley lines and were positioned throughout the world by this old civilization, so they still exist. But then the druid rings are more of a natural phenomenon, and so I'm not going to get into the details. At some point we may explicitly say the details, but just say that if you've got multiple planes, like if you put your hands together, you got multiple planes, there's always going to be little gaps, and sort of like imagine the lines on your hands and then put them together. And that those little tunnels between the gaps between these specific realms are how the phenomenon of the weird gates, WYRD. So because that's the weirding. And so you're moving through the weirding and you're able to get to different points that are all connected through this sort of like system of veins that are the space between the planes. And so that, and you'll druids can see, right? Now, you know, druids are capable of traversing through there. And so the druids, especially very early on, the wood elves were the ones that essentially perfected the craft of moving through the weirding, and so essentially teleporting. Let's see, Salacious. I gotta catch up. I was babbling. Would love to see some cozier dungeons like Unrest. We have very, very tiny dungeons. So we've got mini dungeons. And I think at this point we've probably got half a dozen, and we'll be continuing to add those. So they can be essentially a few rooms, like 3 or 4 rooms, all the way up into just like a little small, you know, trying to think of what you describe it as. But essentially smaller than Unrest, if you're using Unrest as an example. But we've got places, I mean, we've just got little areas in some of our other zones that are essentially the size of Unrest, but they're just points of interest and stuff. So, but Shani said they get super crazy. We have a handful of mini dungeons. Yep. I think you showed it off like 3 to 4 years ago. Still is Twilight. I don't. That was just me making some shit. I don't know that that's gonna make it in. But a similar concept could make it in at some point. So there'll definitely be more islands and island chains and island zones around the continent. So Shattered Isles should make it in. Change time of day. So this is the first island, like big island that you hit. First, you're asking about size before. I'll run in the background while I talk, and you'll see the time it takes with Sal to get from island to island. MBCal8 says, hi, this is my first time catching a stream after finding out about the project. It looks really interesting. I'm excited to see the progression of it. Hey, thanks. Where did you find out about us? Tsunami-san, the druids and the wizards go to different places when they teleport. So the wizards are basing their teleportation off of, I think we've used the term, it's not a spoiler. Yeah, it's a different type of magic. It's off of old Hethalian magic, from when, you know, essentially that great empire was around, in its original form. And then the druids, their magics, or their transportation's based off the weirding, which is completely different. Old Combine magic. I mean, not Combine. I don't know. I think the Hethalians, they weren't really based off that at all. That's why I was kind of laughing when I said, oh yeah, I guess that kind of, there's some easy association with like the Combine. I've always just been a big fan of like the old Graham Hancock books and stuff, right? This idea that there was a global civilization that was doing super crazy cool shit and building pyramids all over the world and all of that stuff. And then it was destroyed at one point by a great cataclysm that winds up becoming, you know, part of everybody's sort of common sort of legends and blah, blah, blah. Always loved a lot of that old stuff. And so when we were first talking about like the history of the world and civilizations that have come up and been destroyed and why and who is there and how they got there and what wars or what type of wars destroyed them, then yeah, it was just kind of a natural. I honestly hadn't thought about Combine either. When we see some unique monsters on these islands, yeah, there's definitely going to be a variety. So first, see, I'm still going. Love the layers of history approach. That's how I start when I build a setting for tabletop role-playing games. Yeah, we basically just we started at how did the world form? And have gone from there. Hey, Autokey. What's going on, buddy? Are you guys going to have in-game books like Elder Scrolls? Yep. Yeah, the whole, like Royal said, ancient advanced civilizations that crumble to nothing, leaving only remnants is pretty common in a lot of fantasy. Yep, for sure. I noticed a lot of EQ lingo, but as someone who didn't play OG EverQuest, is there a plan for an in-game primer or crash course to understand catch-up speed? We're hoping there won't be a lot of need. Anything that you need to know, we're going to teach you. And then the stuff that maybe is just sort of like weird communal knowledge or stuff that's been passed down from like old EQ players or whatever, I think, yeah, a lot of that you'll get filled in pretty quickly. But we're going to make you as functional as possible early on. We'll help you with that. So first, look, that's just those first few islands. We're not halfway yet through the zone. And that's not going to the other islands in the zone, right? Like we're going around the basically the ship path. So is Eminem more like science fantasy with tech soul that looks like magic? No. I mean, we're pretty hardcore fantasy, but there is fun stuff to riff off of. But it's a good question, Zedar. I think we every once in a while we'll discuss something that's kind of a little, because if we're sticking to like if we're sticking with old school 70s and 80s kind of tropes and stuff, there is a lot of opportunity for weird sci-fi shit to creep in. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but we're being a little bit cautious. What's your ideal max weight between boat cycles? Will players have any way of knowing where the boats are? We can make it so that you know when they're leaving. I don't know if we feel it's really necessary. An NPC can always tell you kind of where it is. I guesstimate that it's along such and such by now, right? So we can do that. We may go for a longer waiting time on the boat cycles, especially if we allow players to own boats, and we go with the concept that the benefit of a player-owned boat is the player can trigger that whenever. So if there's a bunch of people waiting on the next ship, then a player could basically just get everybody to pay donations or whatever, and all right, let's go now, and trigger the ride himself, right? So that's one of the thoughts that we've had with ships and player-owned ships. We'll see if we get there. So if we wind up thinking that player-owned ships just aren't going to happen, though we're kind of hoping that it winds up the work that we're doing with mounts, the works that we're doing with housing, and the work that we've done with ships is all going to work together to allow us to potentially get player-owned ships figured out. But if it doesn't look tight for early access, then we'll maybe increase the frequency of normal ships for now. Let's see. Zone stunning, like an MMO version of Sea of Thieves map. Love the vibe. Yeah, and keep in mind that all these placeholders are still textures. How about that? See if you can decipher my meaning on that. It's not a Tuma. How will housing work? Will it be instanced, or will every player's house have be a physical building in the world? We are starting with the idea that there are no instance houses, but there will be a lot of weird places where you can find houses, right? And every city will have its own housing. There will be some places like this island we were looking at earlier where you can rent houses outside of the cities. So, and they're not necessarily going to be cheap initially. If we find that there's a strong need for everyone to have a house over time, and it's hard for us to keep up with our current approach, then we may find like a mix of nice houses like the ones that we've been looking at with instanced sort of tenement housings for all the lesser beings. Can use volumes when player tries to enter a ship, ask if they want to pay a fee. This way there is an actual ticket being sold. For the player-owned ones. You could even have a guild ship en route or something where players run a boat like a taxi instead of a normal boat being a bus. You know what? I've never, for whatever reason, I've always pictured all of the damn ships the same size, and yet there's no need for that. Player ones could be smaller. I think it kind of boiled down to, would it be your intention that everyone has a boat, or would it be more limited and potentially a choice a regular player may have to make for monetary reasons? No, the idea isn't that everybody has a boat. One of the, like, with all of our additional systems like that, none of them are being implemented with this idea that everybody gets everything in our world. We definitely want there to be aspirational. We want there to be aspirational progression, and we want there to be things where you look at it and go, "Holy shit!" Like Lasava just said. Lasava said, "I kind of like the idea of larger boats requiring a guild resource or cost to summon. Solo boats could have smaller, slower. Solo players could have smaller, slower boats." Yeah, and so that's something we're really going to be working with when it comes to taxes, maintenance costs, potential for them to be damaged and destroyed, right? Because just like the mounts, as I mentioned, you know, if we piggyback on the mount system, one of the things that happens with mounts in our game is they could be killed, right? They need food, they need water, they can be killed. They're probably expensive to get in the first place. Stables are probably costly. Getting them rezzed may be costly. Or not, I don't know. That part may not. So as we're getting way over here, then eventually you'll see we'll get Keeper's Bite built out. And the theme as we get more north here, texture-wise and prop-wise and stuff like that, will be hopefully it's something I got to follow up with Simon and Chinny about. Like, it should start to get more of a temperate feel out here, and you start to get more sort of like islands off the Pacific Northwest. Then you get guilds like Dialership. Yeah, exactly. I was just about to ask how far north past Keepers. We're just now getting into like Keepers, sort of Keepers zone line area here. We'll probably fudge it a bit. Hey, what's up, Dark Inside? We'll probably fudge it a bit over here with more mountains to convey, and then you'll start to see Keepers in this area. There's an island with some stuff there, but I'm going to avoid it for now. Let you guys go up there and find that one on your own. How will rights to build on land be decided? It is all, it's all very predetermined. You're not going to really build on land. There's going to be specific areas that you can rent, and that's that. So yeah. So that's the thing first. It is a very big zone with a lot of traversal between islands, but it's still, because of the draw distances and stuff like that, it feels like it's tightly packed full of islands. It's just, there are islands and it is a big ass zone. I don't know if this zone, I'll be very curious to see if we can keep this zone this size, or if we're going to have to break it up or something. We may have to break it into 2 zones. Like, that right there is the halfway point. So we'll see. We'll learn something with this zone. We'll learn our limitations. But that's the cool thing about doing a zone-based game. Like if we find that the zone's just too big or whatever, then we can just chop it up into more than one zone. You'll just have an extra zone line, which honestly, zone lines are kind of a nice thing when you're in there and you're being chased by shit that's trying to kill you. It'd be cool to see like an expensive method to teleport just from the port to port, like a portal for rich people. You mean shipping ports, like the ship ports, or teleport ports? So on non-buildable rentable areas, we can still set up tents and campfires, right? You can set up campfires. We don't have tents in yet. We haven't discussed a tent concept. I'm picturing like turtle EQ or whatever, but well, maybe we did back then when we were looking at turtle EQ's stuff. But for the moment, we just have campfires. Yeah, like skip to bows there, fancy skip. Maybe even just for show, like I mean fancy skip would just be going to a druid or a wizard to get a port. Fuller says, every stream continues to hype me up about this game. Y'all are doing such a wonderful job. Hey, thank you for that. Simon and Chinny, are you guys still out there? Are you guys still using these? Are pretty cool. Are you still using them anywhere else in the zone, or because this was what the player island was originally made out of? What is the design philosophy around classes? Will there be slight or significant customization in gameplay? The best place, either hop on when you see us in here and Nick's in, and he's able to hop in voice. It's easier for him to explain stuff quickly, or just hit us up in Discord, and you'll get your class questions answered better there. I mean, what I can say is that we definitely are pushing for each class to feel pretty distinct, and you know, while there may be some flex into different areas with those classes depending on gearing and stuff like that over time, you know, the priority that I've seen to date from us has just been ensuring that the classes do feel distinct and not homogenous and starting to blur the lines too much with each other due to like a high degree of specialization that sort of pushes you towards like an area that's typically more the lane of another class, but probably not doing the best job of explaining it. So by the time we get all the way over here, it feels like we should be able to start to hit the, oh, this is a fun island. Start to hit the temperate, like greener kind of look. And it'd be nice that before you get into Keeper's Bite, that it starts to convey some of that, like once we've got those trees and stuff. I think it'd be a really cool effect. And the island that the player islands that used to have these, it'd be cool if we still had some of this style of structure on that island. I think this will be a good hunting ground for evils. See you, Lasava. Have a good day at work. So I'm gonna run back real quick just because some of you guys came in a little bit later, and I'll talk about what we were talking about earlier in the stream with this island over here, and see what other input you guys have for it since it's been on my mind today. Is the music we're hearing, is this made for the game, in-house or contracted? It is made in-house. Our wonderful Robert does our music and sounds when he's not touring with one of the bands that he plays with. You can find the music here. Got a playlist posted. Anytime we add new music, we post it to that playlist so that you've got it available. I've intentionally avoided certain islands, even looking at them while we're in here, just because there's a lot of different islands. There's a lot of different stuff going on. Is it DMCA free music? I mean, it's on YouTube, and we're not like posting any takedowns or anything like that. Depending on what people do with it, I guess we might have some feedback. But we tend to be pretty open with stuff. Will there be skills for instruments? Yeah, so I mean, instruments will be serve as modifiers. Will there be like a music playing skill? Or the ability, will there be a system for you to play sort of freeform music or something like that in game, or? So anyways, I've come back to this island so that I can show you what we were looking at earlier and get your input. We've talked about different fluff systems, and it's something that is on our minds for wouldn't it be nice a little bit later. I'll tell you what, if we get enough of you subscribing for long enough, it will eventually happen. And if it doesn't, you can yell at me. You can say that I lied. I need to fix this mic. So anyways, I'm going to make it daylight again. Sorry, hopefully I didn't blind anybody. So this island, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, it should be kind of a secret or whatever. And then they discover it and want it to be cool, but it's going to be cool either way. So I was thinking about it earlier and I was like, shit, we should probably talk about it. And so far you've already had some cool ideas. Let me just check, make sure I'm not missing anything crazy here. Cool. I don't think I am. When can you play? We'll have another play test. Hopefully in the not too distant future. There's a bunch of stuff that's unfinished at the moment that we put in that's like brand new stuff. So we're wanting to get that a little bit tighter. If you look, Ollie just had a good... he just mentioned... Let me actually read what he said in Discord. If you're not in Discord, you should be sure to be in Discord. Let me look for Ollie. Ollie. So, the reason why we don't have a test going on right now, Ollie said, was we are wrapping up Unity 6 upgrade lighting changes. Animal taming is totally imbalanced right now. We are doing some serious early game progression design work. A lot of the zones are in flight. There's a lot of holes in geo and stuff that we're fixing up from some changes we've made. The textures that you're looking at in here are all placeholder. And we've just kind of landed where we think we're probably going to be happy with textures, and we wouldn't mind slapping on some new textures before you get in the next time. That shouldn't take horribly long. And then we've got, he said, doing public tests takes a lot of resources away from development. Namely, right now we're working on mounts. Player housing is like deep in development. We just put in animal taming as well, and we got a bunch of other shit that we're playing with. So the cool thing is all of that's going in right now, and we got a year until early access kicks off. The not cool part about it is we're not running a play test like in the near future. But as all this stuff goes in, we're definitely going to want to, have a test and see what breaks. So fingers crossed it's not too horribly long. Sorry I don't have more for you, El Proxy. If you guys get into our Discord and hit the playtest like notifications, you'll be notified when info gets posted on it. 5waycon, thank you for the follow. Gus Nation says, can't wait to buy your game. It's on my list to get already. Right on. Appreciate it. You do realize it's going to be a monthly sub, right? No box price, just monthly sub. We just want you to come back month to month. So, yeah, you can sign up for you can be on our mailing list as well. That's not a bad idea. Thanks, Tsunami-san. Yeah. Don't let me forget. It's been a while since you saw the puppy, so I'm going to have him hop up here in a little bit. You new folks, where did you find out about it? What about an exorbitant fee for a lifetime sub? It just doesn't feel... I'm just speaking for me on this one. I just really love the idea that you give us money each month and we give you a reason to come back each month. Right? Like... Yeah, the mailing list doesn't spam you like First said. It just notifies you about the updates. You'll probably get an email from us like once a month or once every 2 months. but we will let you know when there's a scheduled test. So if you're not in our Discord, then it's probably going to be a help to you. When we go into early access, I mean, it's just going to be a sub. We'll have some real world merch that you can buy. And then we may have a tip jar. So, if you really, really love it, and you decide you're not going to buy like 4 accounts each month and you just want to give us some extra cash, sure. Will there be options to pay for multiple months in advance? Yeah, probably. They'll probably be, like 3-6 months. So the reason why I came back here is this island is going to be abandoned. For those of you that were here earlier, it's a repeat. But those of you that weren't here, the player ship or the sort of the in-game ship will come by this island. Got to work with the guys to make sure that kind of the docks and stuff make sense for it. But the ship will come by this island and it'll be abandoned. Once you have the cash to rent places, and there may or may not be some other criteria in order to get the deed here, you'll be able to get your monthly deed for structures on this island, and then it's up to you to kind of do with the island what you will. If you want to set up shops, cool. If you just want this to be a luxury resort for cool people like you, then we'll see. But it'll be pretty interesting to see what you guys do with the various systems that we put in place on this island. So it's not going to be super sophisticated. We don't try to do like super complex systems. We make pretty modular systems in the hope that these sort of self-standing, simple modular systems that kind of can work with each other will give you guys the agency to kind of do interesting shit. Can you make an inn? Yeah. So that's one of the things, or a tavern. Yeah. Which is, what would I put here myself? Probably a tavern. And we'll look at some of the structures as the guys are kind of like working through and wrapping stuff up. We'll make sure that there's some structures that can serve the purposes that you guys are mentioning, right? So, like here, I imagine we could have a farm plot, and it'll be relatively, there's not a lot of other farms around here, so whoever has this, if they are actually using it as a farm, can kind of corner the market on that stuff. From the sounds of it, you are actually letting us place the structures in some way. No, it's more about letting you declare the functionality of the structures that are there, if that makes sense. So, Lich, if I'm saying it in a way where it seems too freeform, then I'll try to fix my my description. But like I said, I'm not really on top of my game tonight. Five-Way Con said I found out about Eminem from YouTube videos. Were the videos just recommended to you, or how did you find them there? I mean, in the reason why I say it's limited and all that stuff, Lich, is just because you know how we are about like scope creep and shit. I would rather people assume the minimum. I'd rather underpromise, and then who knows, if we have a whole bunch of you and you're subscribing for a long time and all that stuff, then we might come back and redesign a zone and allow more things to be more dynamic or whatever. But for now, it's just going to be you won't build, but you can occupy, as Simon said. Do you have any artwork character sheets I can get my hands on? I do 3D sculpting and love making toys from games. Go to our Discord and you'll see some stuff there. Gus Nation, we've got stuff posted on the website and on Discord, but we definitely need to update the website. Will there be coral nodes to mine or other underwater resources? Probably. I want the experience of buying a water breathing potion so I can dive down in mine, get chased by sharks, charmed into drowning by sirens and so on. We might be able to accommodate some of your fantasies. Mr. Adam Zero said, you also got to worry about people breaking the world. That is also a problem. That's the thing. Like, I respect, you know, I respect teams that are going for more complex systems. Like if you look at the Ashes of Creation stuff, it's just we're a completely volunteer, relatively small. Right, we're right around 30 people, but we're completely volunteers. So our schedule is very unpredictable. People work as they have time. Yeah, there's a Discord link right here. The M&M Discord command. So we're trying to add in some pretty like ambitious stuff. While also having it not turn into one of these projects where it's, you know, you talk about all this crazy pie in the sky shit and the game never ships. Like, we're very, very focused on shipping. By shipping, I mean going into early access and then hopefully generating some revenue so that we can start to pick some of our people up full time, so that we can move a little bit faster, so that we can make the game better, so that we keep more of you longer, so that we can make more revenue, so that we can get more people, so we can make the game better. That's it. Can you change the draw distance on the shadows? Not at the moment, unless something's changed. How long do you think it will take to go early access? We actually have a timeline that we're working towards right now. Check it out. Here. It's another command, FAQ. Other new people, like, how did you find out about it? Like, how did you get here? Always curious. If you're in our Discord, there is a introductions channel, and we really do read every one of those. Like, every person that goes into the intro channel and writes up their background, like what got you into gaming, what got you into MMOs, what MMOs have you played, how did you find out about us? Like, it's a great opportunity for you to talk about yourself, and we definitely enjoy it. You know, so it's fun to read those. Those of you, I mean, we've got some new people in here. Maybe I should bounce around to some other zones while I'm at it. How do I pronounce your name? Because it's like, I immediately just read it as like Malamu or Malam. How do you say the dog's name? Malamo? Malamu? What's the dog's name? The crazy ass cop dogs. Or is your name just like Mallow Boys? The Mallow Boys. Somebody mallow this thing. Dude, typing Malinois? Malinois, that is how you say it. Belgian Malinois. That's correct, right, Dargus? Did I say it right? Perjos, yeah, it feels extremely around the corner at this point. Your buddy has one, they're nuts. I would have loved to have been able to work with one back in the day. It's just your French name? But can you give me the phonetics on the pronunciation? I'm very curious about your name. I like to try to get people's names right, man. Malaboa? Malaboa? Malaboa. I could ask my wife. She speaks some French. She might know how to pronounce it. Actually, I'm going to break down, those of you that have been watching the stream for a while, I'm going to break down and buy some more RAM this weekend. How's that sound? Is that exciting? Does that excite you? More th what is it? More wham? Where am I going to download it from? I don't know. What's the best place for me to download the RAM? Wouldn't it be great if you bought an actual RAM like the animal? Dargith, one of these days, if I ever get a chance to retire and move to the hills, Jasmine and I are definitely, we'll get a RAM or two. We'll get at least one RAM, and then hey, what's up, Gassy? Any new developments on the texture pass? Yeah, Goblin and Solaris are working together right now to pull together a suite of textures so that we can then look at getting things retextured. Our property is parceled off a sheep ranch. Rams are nuts. I can imagine. Not to be trifled with. Pie Gaming says, hey, Robot, good to finally catch you. How's life? Love what you're building. Lots of excited people. Hey, it's good to see you. It's been a while. It has been a while, right? Though I think I might be confusing you with somebody with an extremely similar name, but... What's up, Death by Gnomes? You like the current textures? How much of a change will there be in style and look? Jumpin', I can show you in a second, actually. What kind of hat is my gnome wearing? Just a nice little chill floppy hat. See how it flops? It's got some flop to it. And nothing else, because it's been hot lately, so I'm just running around my underwears. My underwears. Do I actually have my clothes still? Okay, I can put my clothes on. There we go. This is my normal look. No, I'm a fellow dev. We knew each other from... Okay. That's what I thought. Currently working with old teammate of yours, EQ, who does our lore. Right. When that was a couple years ago that we like hung out and stuff. Had the interview with you guys. Defend the Night, right? Can we set view distance in these large zones for lower end PCs? Yeah, we're gonna look at some options to help you guys out with optimization. And like I said, I need to get some more RAM. the frame rate hits and shit like that you see in these zones, especially from my end. It's just that my since we went to Unity 6, like running the editor and streaming is not the smoothest. So love the new textures, cliff face shaping, along with Unity 6 lighting. Really amped up the ambience. Yeah, I'll pop over there in a minute so that. So who was asking about the textures? Imagine your browser has a few windows open as well. Just a few. Each one of these is got probably. I've got like 5 windows with a total of 300 tabs, Swanee. Let's show the Wood Elves windows. Oh man, I've gone pretty hard on Wood Elf lore, just in preparation of getting those zones populated and stuff. Hopefully, you guys like some of the surprises, some of the stuff there. But it's gotten pretty fun. Thanks, Pi. These guys, if you've been in here, though, I don't think many of you, if any of you, should be appropriate level. But if you've been around looking at these guys, the giants now have more distinct looks to them. I've gone through and done some hair, beard, hat customization. So depending on, you know, what their role is and kind of who they are, they've got different looks. But to your point, the like it's been really nice seeing the success of the Pantheon guys. That's been nice and reassuring, and yeah, I think it's a good moment for the sort of classically inspired, different feeling MMO. So hopefully the scene continues to build up. Yeah. So yeah, we've got some different beard colors, so you can start to distinguish some of them based off of their look. I have to say the giant walking animation looks too slow. I don't know. I dig it. but I'll be honest. I don't know where we've left off with animations. We have been talking to a very experienced, very nice guy who may still be out there in chat, but we've been talking to someone about some additional animation bandwidth. So we, if we are, because for some reason I thought we didn't finish everything with the Giants, but if we are in need of more anims and some polish and stuff like that, I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to nail it. So those of you that have been watching the streams, or those of you who've been watching the VODs, you've seen this probably a whole bunch. But yeah, we're doing everything that's we're doing things to scale in a way where it allows us to also make it so that you can come up and explore using our mud action system. Those of you aren't familiar with it, we've got a text-based interaction system that allows you to do a whole bunch of different things, right? So you can and Keith actually is working on a really cool window for that right now. I might actually spoil it and show it off. because that's what I like to do on streams. So we're working on a window to make it even easier for you to kind of see NPC quest text when it comes up. Like we're gonna try out having it in its own window, and mud actions will go in that window as well. Let me see if where was it? UI maybe? Yeah, I'm gonna pop this out. I don't think he'll mind. Can I open it? Open a new window. Oops, that's my head's in the way for that. I don't know if you guys can see it. I might have to minimize myself so I can get out of the way so you can see it a little bit easier. So this would be a window dedicated for like for hail text, and when you're talking to NPCs, or when like you get emotes pushed at you, or you know, descriptive like mud text or whatever pushed at you, or if you're doing mud interactions. And it may be one that we put in by default. When those things happen, it kind of pops up and is available and kind of fades back out, and you can set it to work the way you want. But if you look right here, can you guys actually see it? Is it too small? Do I need to make it bigger and just make myself disappear? Are you going to adopt window tabs or stick with drop down? Probably both. So depending on what's going on. So for the, if you've seen Pantheon's like combat window, the way that you've got like a simple mouse over with like easy access to filters, that's just really cleverly done. Like it's really nice and easy to use. So definitely looking at that for some inspiration on the UX. But yeah, so if you look here, like there's just like a little button here on this one window. And you know, that might be a thing where if you mouse over it, it's a bigger sort of, it just says like /mud or whatever. And then in clicking it, you've got the various mud actions that are available. They come up and you got buttons where you could just click it. That does not preclude you. You could still just hit /smell and it'll still work. But this gives people that aren't as familiar with it like some idea. Then when you click on that, like if you see here, he hits open. When he clicks open, it fills in /open. And then in the background there, it essentially gives the argument. So it says /open in white, but in green it says thing. So you need to basically type in what thing you want to open, right? But it's just there as a reminder. So he types it in and you saw that it disappears, right? So as he's typing in what to open, sand, it says you cannot open that. So pull, same deal. Cool. Pry, and it gives you the arguments. It says basically, what do you want to pry? But it also reminds you that you need to be holding something to pry with if you want to do that, right? So just, it serves as a, little, make it a little bit easier for people that aren't familiar with it to get in. So we'll keep playing with the UX on that and see where that goes. So hopefully that'll be in. Oh, we don't really have the system doing a ton yet in terms of what you can earn, but religion was put in. I don't think you can renounce your faith yet. That's still to come, but there are shrines and stuff in game now. So once we get more of that system in, you'll be able to start to build up your devotion with your chosen god or faith, or you can renounce your god or faith and then find a new one and build up with that. Going pretty heavy on the gods. I was just asking Ali and Nick what they thought about this in our meeting on Tuesday, because I've been going pretty crazy with some of the god stuff. So rather than just have like 10 gods or 12 gods and you have to pick one of the 12, whatever, there's not many, and then you're stuck with them, kind of like an EQ. There'll be every sort of race class setup will have some number of gods that they can pick from at character create. And then once you get in, you can renounce your god if you decide you found like a cult or a shrine or some other access point or a priest of some god that you didn't have the option to follow and you want to follow that faith. Then you'll be able to work your way up with that faith. And the approach that we're taking is very much like a more Forgotten Realms. Like there's just a shitload of gods. They're the core gods that's, you know, the bulk of the people you run into are aware of and believe in. But there are a lot of just like weird, quirky little gods and up and coming gods, right? Like demigods that have ascended and older gods that, you know, are maybe just too horrible to speak of, and so not a lot of people follow them. So again, the whole idea is to establish a pretty straightforward, simple system from our point of view, that then gives you a lot of agency to kind of explore and develop your character as you see fit. So what does faith do for you? Additional skills. So it will likely be one or more of the following. And this is the work that we've still got to do. Essentially, we've got the ability for you to progress and unlock different tiers. Those tiers will either provide you, and it'll be one or more of the following. Or maybe none, how should I say that? Potentially one or more of the following. Potential abilities, access to items, access to certain quests, and I mean, just those carry a lot of weight. So, and anyways, I got on the topic of mud actions just because when you, oh shit, I'm in the pot. Chinny did too good of a job. Well, this is immersive. So when you're stuck in a pot as a gnome, you can do stuff like maybe, you know, slash look or slash smell, whatever. Cook the gnome. Does this break line of sight? It should, right? It's collision, right? Anyways. Hopefully you don't have your religious status as some kind of meter or UI interface. Would you not want an easier way to sort of track some of that stuff, like faction, your religious status, blah blah blah? Why wouldn't you want like part of your character sheet to provide more details of that for you? I'm not being a smartass, Darius. I'm actually curious why you wouldn't. I kind of liked when EQ. You mean some in terms of some sort of rep grind? I mean, but I wouldn't want a faction meter also. You didn't like it when the like actual visual indicators of faction were added into the EQ Live interface? Breaks immersion? All right. I think it's a fair argument. I always just assumed people would find that to be convenient and helpful, but we do have a tendency to err on the side of slightly more nebulous, so. You'd rather they just tell you to come back later? So I'm finally using an English keyboard again. Those of you that weren't here at the beginning of the session. Finally using an English keyboard again, and man, I can't type with it. Can't type with it. I'm not going to not play if you have a meter or something. Just prefer otherwise. No, I appreciate your thoughts on it. Yeah, so throughout the giant area, there's a fair bit of this stuff. We got to get in and get these guys all mud actioned up, but the lack of shoes for the giants is disheartening. I mean, there may be future giants that are really into shoes. These guys are just, I mean, there's all this sand here. It's like me when I was a kid in Florida. ZQ Live has it now. You can reference your character faction by looking it up. It's hidden in a menu you don't have access to if you don't want it to. Gilmere, for some reason, I thought it was more obvious because, excuse me, because I just remember seeing it, but maybe I had to look it up. All right, so you guys were asking about textures. So here's an example of you've been looking at the old texture. Here's an example of one of the new textures. We'll run up and take a look at it. And then I'll read First's Humble Prayer to Porbor. All right, let's go take a look. Swanee said, can confirm I'm in Florida, not wearing shoes currently. Yeah, it's just a normal thing, right? How in the world did you handle the humidity in Florida, Robot? The one and only time I was in Florida was 9 years ago, early September, like around Labor Day. Humidity was unbelievable. I'm just a very adaptable creature. So, who was asking about the textures earlier? Jumping? All right, here we go. This is what we're looking at. So it's still painted style. We've developed a pipeline that we think is pretty manageable. So it's in keeping with what we've always been talking about doing and what we're doing with like the characters and stuff, right? It's all painted. It's just, they're just new. Like this texture that you've been looking at back there for years. That was just, it was a sample texture. Some guys, at one of the art houses that we were talking to, whipped up for us really quick, and we've just been using it ever since. So, I mean, that's one of the things we're keeping an eye on. I would say they're detailed, they're very, very like high fidelity, like detailed painted textures. I don't think our, I don't feel as if our, but you guys can tell me. I don't feel as if they overshadow our characters. I mean, if maybe I need more detail on my pectorals. My pectorials. Pump up the forehead wrinkle detail. My crow's feet, my nips, belly button fuzz. Yeah, so this is what we've been saying like the whole time. It's like, hey guys, we're figuring out our textures, and once we figure out our textures, we're gonna, you'll see a big update to the game. But as you can see, it's like we're not using a bunch of like height mapping, right? It's still flat. It's still very old school geo, like our characters, right? Like again, very chunky characters. But then if you look at my arm resolution, the old one looks better from distance. The new one probably needs a more intense normal map to contrast. You think? I mean, there may be some, this was just like put on pretty quickly. So it could just be a little bit more about like how the geo is working with the texture. Thoroughly impressed with the spell effects animations. Not many games put effort into how spellcast feels. Loved it the last stress test. Hey, appreciate that. And we'll, with some of the animations and stuff, we'll continue to tweak. And there'll be more and more spell effects going in. And you'll see like the difference between stuff that was older that we still need to come back and touch up, and newer stuff. So. And every race has got a little bit different feel, right? And it'll always be the case. Noticed with every game I've worked on that the first stuff you do always winds up having to get touched up as you get closer to release, just because the more you do it, the more you kind of work on things, the more you learn, and the better you get. So. Yeah, like I said, we went from just having Urkin staff having to do like everything himself. Brought on a new, what's going on over here? Brought on additional animator. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that. And then we may be getting a third animator. So. The fingers crossed. We like him so far. He likes us. So I'll have to catch up in Discord and see what's going on there. And with mounts coming online, that's a big help. So then let's check this out. Those of you that haven't seen this, there's stuff like this that goes on. Since we got new players, I'm just gonna. New folks in here. I'll show off some of the old stuff. Oops. So we'll stand here for a minute, see if it plays out. Speaking of spell effects, is there an option on melee attack flourishes? Like swords leaving visible arc when swung? I feel like it could be cool if used sparingly. We might look at something like that. If it's used sparingly and sort of within the style that we're we're shooting for, right? Like we've got a pretty old school lo-fi style, but some of the stuff that Zukin's put in recently, like bolts, you know, like the projectiles, are looking pretty good. So we'll always want to, you know, this style that we have of lots of sparkles and orbs and other stuff. You know, that's always going to be the guiding kind of principle, is to try to keep it, I don't know, what's a good term for it? Like intangible, kind of magical, instead of it looking like game effect, right? Like that's the slashing effect. That is the, right? Like just every other game on Earth has that covered. Like big crazy shit and big, like, you know, whatevers, and it's just, yeah, it's about sparkles and light and I'm trying to think magical and luminescent, ethereal. Yeah, there you go. I'm just like, I'm finding random spells. I'll cast it on myself just to see if they have different spell effect. Guess not. That's a badass spell name, though. Oh, this one just has blue sparkles. For some reason, 3-minute hours crawl when you want them to switch, right? Here we go. I have to come in here and tweak this. It's been a long time since I was in here. I feel like some things have got changed a little bit, so they don't quite die the same way. But anyway, we're just waiting for that so you can see an example of day-night cycle changes where the daytime population gets overrun, then becomes a night population. Never realized the undead killed the researchers. I thought they changed form. Nope. The researchers, they get killed. The smugglers change form. Let's see. You know what I mean first. They switch from humans to were-rats. it certainly has a feel to it that other games are not achieving as well. I appreciate you saying that, Pi. It's something it's something that we're definitely concentrating on. Will an evil race class system be live during EA? There'll probably be a little taste of it, and then we're rolling into our first big update right after we go into early access. Will be a more evil focused update. So Deep Elves, and we'll see what else we've got done by then. But we'll be looking at some like race class god combos that can satiate your evilness until then. Excuse me. Are melee abilities going to get animation spell effects? Some animations I think have been done or will be done. Spell effects, I think that was what Chip was just commenting on as well. Probably not heavy on the spell effects. Those of you that weren't here before, we've started working towards the Elven lands. But you've probably seen Evershade before, but we'll head up there to it. But we've been doing a lot of blockout work. Again, placeholder textures. But we've been doing a lot of blockout work to get this terrain and everything figured out so that we can get this zone, ready for like production. So Bjorn's been working on the blockout on this. So consider all this gray boxing. And you know, it's just enabled us to start figuring out exactly how we're going to approach this zone in terms of scale and things like that. Back there, that will eventually not look like a bunch of placeholder assets. It will instead look like a just kind of like a big forest wall as you're going into it. And then the high elves actually live up in the mountains beyond there. You feel like you're at an impasse. What would give you that sense? Mallow, thank you for the follow. You haven't seen the new tree blockout? That's hot off the presses. It is very hot off the presses. Smiley said, yeah, I was actually watching a Grey Box VOD last night that showed this zone. Oh, nice. It'll look less creepy with leaves. I was just looking at it, I was like, man, this place looks really sinister. It's supposed to be the opposite. Speaking of which, Sinister Forest win? Eventually. It's definitely on the list. Sinister Forest, Sinister Underground Forest, Underground Jungles. Have you done work on the Gnome Starter Zone yet? Nope. Not yet. That is a ways off, unfortunately. We'd love to be able to do all of them, but little team, not full time, just kind of chugging along. Dark Inside said, so DCEO blue balled everyone with the Blue Lantern power set, and they gave us some dumb custom Blue Lantern NPC that doesn't exist in any comic. Well, that's a bummer. They have a new creative team there, right? I'm going to run over to the shoreline, then we'll go into Evergrove, which is now named Evershade. I have to admit, this little guy is graceful when he jumps. I honestly, I love running with him. I don't have my Explorer hat on. I love running with him. I love jumping with him. I've been told my whole life it allows me to live life from a different person. It's true with gnomes. Hey, Shmonite. Yeah, so this will eventually be made to look a lot more like here, let's go. I had it even more handy because I brought it up before, but I think I like put it away again, so it's actually a fail on my part. You know what the easiest way to find it is to just go to monstersandmemories.com. So the goal is to eventually create a facade that those of you that haven't checked our updates, if you want to see a lot of really cool shit about the game, updates are usually just kind of like some boring, this happened this month or whatever. We have plenty of that in there, but we give details on features. We have so much just interesting stuff that you can find about the game in the various updates. They're actually a pretty decent way to get an overview of like what's been done, believe it or not. Right? The good background pictures for your desktop. Female ogres, fan favorite. Yeah, so What? This should light box. Why isn't this light boxed? I need to fix that a year later. So anyways, we want that background to really have this feel at some point, right? So this will be this. We'll build it out and kind of have it set up so it works well with lighting and all that. So yeah, I mean, that is definitely a big inspiration for this, is like just one of my favorite places to visit in Germany. I live in Germany. Is the Black Forest, so I think my dog went up with my wife to bed, so he's not going to be on the stream tonight, unfortunately. But Friday we'll have him. Der Schwarzwald. Yup, genau. I messed with the noise gate on my mic after watching a clip that Keith had done of previous VOD. It sounds like my S's keep getting cut off, so I turned the noise gate down a bit so it should stop clipping them. Let me know if anything sounds weird. We'll see. It's gonna take me a minute or two to zone. You know what? I didn't think to ask first. I'll have to. I'm gonna hit you up with a DM. I need to buy some RAM. I have questions because I don't know anything about computers. So I need to actually open my case and see what I got going on, but I need to get some more RAM. I think that'll help me when I'm streaming and in editor and blah, blah, blah. When we upgraded to Unity 6, it kind of messed up some of our lighting settings. So consider all that in progress. But yeah, for those of you that have been around for, well, then again, those of you that have been around for years and been looking at Desert for years, you've probably already seen these zones. So those of you that haven't seen them, oh wow, that makes it really bright. I have to get on that. Whoa, it just goes from like not dark to freaking dark. Probably not on Arrakis anymore. Oh, guys, I mentioned a couple streams ago, a few streams ago, that I hadn't seen Dune 2 because I heard it wasn't any good. I don't know who told me it wasn't any good. That was a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed Dune 2. Now I want to watch both of them together. Like, Jasmine and I watched it, and it was just like, I was surprised at just how good it was. Hey, babe. Alright, so if you guys weren't here on the other stream, I'm gonna do this again. This is not indicative of anything that's actually going in game. It's just a bug with the new mount system allowing me to mount whatever I want. And it should not be taken by any means as like a guarantee that you'll ever get anything like this in game. So don't be mad later if it doesn't go in. It just so happens to work out that the wasp has a really great flying animation and the gnome just happens to fit on him. And this is all coincidence. Dreg, thank you for the raid. So, appreciate you being here. Folks that just came in, as I was saying, big disclaimer. This is unofficial behavior. This is not... Oh, geez. Kind of like that lantern's not official either, huh? Here, I'll make a torch. That'll look a little more natural. How does it look with an ogre? Hilarious. But yeah, just wanted to come in here and tease you guys with this. Like I said, this is not official. This is not... We have never discussed a single plan for wasp mounts for gnomes. It just happens to work out that it's really cool. Wasp mounts confirm. You can confirm whatever you want. I mean, the only thing that's going to happen is some people are going to get mad at me for lying, but... Oh, I was like, why isn't it allowing me to fly up there? Because I'm mounted. I'm mounted. It's kind of like the other day when I wasn't sure that dismount worked. So I just /killed my mount and crashed the server. Did you make any changes to the zone pop I was going to today? Nope, I haven't. I haven't touched it at all just because I was like, you know what? I need to sit down and actually write out more of the lore and stuff in preparation for doing like pop. So I haven't touched it at all. You just hitting the volumes, Nick? I can probably this weekend I can actually start writing down more info on the specific POIs and stuff. Cool. Yeah, then that should be fine. Man, this has created a problem. Like this I like flying on this guy so much. You know what? It's GM only. How about that? Problem solved. No wasp mount for anybody but GMs who are gnomes or ogres. Oh, dude. And no standing on your mountain casting. There we go. 0.1% drop rate off a boss? I think it's got to be even lower. Dude, he's struggling. Do you see how much slower he's going right now? Oh my god. You can't do it. Cash up $100. Brownie Cavalier mounts. After I showed this the other day, you guys were talking about mounted NPCs. Like these little guys, these little dryads. Where's this guy going? The orc found a Batcave entrance. It's the secret entrance. You're not supposed to have seen that. The warm spot. Man, it's weird sometimes what sells you on trying a game. For me, it was your backpacks. I saw those and I was like, oh, they're showing a backpack. I'm in. It's weird little stuff, right? I don't, man. We spend a lot of time talking about trying to be charming. It's something that, I mean, in the earliest days of, you know, and we talked about so much stuff in that first month of like discussing making the game. I actually went back and looked at was just referencing some stuff just because like if you go back and look at the stuff that we have in Confluence from September of 2020, basically those first conversations that like, and I think we were even having some of the conversations individually, but it was just like me and Nick chatting a bunch in DMs, and he wrote down, you know, like, all right, this is the high level breakdown of this is the game, you know, that we were talking about. If you go back and look, we've basically just been working through what we thought would make a cool game. Like even from those first conversations on, it really hasn't changed. We've picked up some cool ideas and, you know, deprioritized a couple things, but for the most part, it was just like there's something. If you look, like we were playing on P99 with the old original character models and shadows on, like so / shadows on, and the thing that stood out, and the more we talked about, the more we analyzed it, like the more it stood out, it was like EQ felt real, like classic era EQ felt real, and it was scary and it was challenging and it was immersive. But if you look at, I think it was just something that Rosie maybe had an impact on, or maybe it was all the artists or whatever. Like so much of it just kind of has this charm to it that's in Rick Schmidt's like character designs and stuff. We talked about that in the interview that I did with him. Like if you just look at the way it came together, just remember, chat, we deprioritized all your favorite things and prioritized all your least favorite things, Nick said. And be sure to tag him in Discord with those complaints. Also, everything related to class design. So, yeah, it's just our torches have gotten weird and with the Unreal 6 upgrade as well. But yeah, so just finding opportunities for charming shit, right? Like backpacks, bedrolls, floppy hats, ogre ass hanging out, butt wiggles, right? Because it doesn't need to be overly stylized, and it doesn't need to be need to be overly stylized, and it doesn't need to be like cartoony or whatever. But I think we'll will provide enough opportunity for you to like be terrified and rage quit and all that other stuff, along with just having an environment that just feels like nice to be in. Oh, did you did Zukin do these on stream? I don't want to spoil it if he didn't, but I will. Let's see. Let me find. Where did they go? What channel? Zukin's been doing some additional horse textures. So he's continued to work on mounts. We'll start with those guys on the mount and like pack animal front, and then we'll kind of go from there. But yeah, I've got the feeling that over time we may find some really interesting opportunities. Trying for that Star Stable demographic, yeah. Star Stable's got some pretty creative, awesome horses as well. I forget what thread they're in, so I'm not gonna. Oh, was it in random? But if you ever look their stuff up, like they definitely have some pretty cool stuff going on in that game. Yeah, I won't be able to find it. Yeah. Like I said, another pretty random evening. My original plan was to go in and just throw some placeholder spawners into Shallow Shoals, but that's kind of what, when I was there looking at that island that they were working on for the player island, the abandoned village that players can take over. Just figured, we might as well talk about that then. And like I said, kind of off night tonight. At least the headache went away. That's nice. But for Friday, I'd like to. I mean, I'd love to be able to have another team play test on Friday. I'll see who's around, if anybody. If not, then what I'll do for Friday is I have to see, because when I looked at the schedule, Shallow Shoals actually is a little ways off, but so I don't want to not do other work that I could be doing more immediately that's on the schedule in favor of plopping mobs in there. But it's pretty easy to do that and stream as well, so we'll see. But hopefully I can pull together like a little team playtest, and we can, those of you that are newer here can see some actual gameplay. If not, you've got the VODs, and like I said, I'm going to continue to get these VODs up in a really timely manner, so that people that are commenting in the comments are kind of part of a current conversation, if that makes sense. You guys are nailing the vibe, I'd say. Feels like somewhere the team wants to live and play in, not just following a MMO blueprint. I think that's fair. I mean, that's a really nice compliment, and that's definitely fair. We're definitely less worried about like kind of the standard formula, and more just trying to think of a place that we want to, like this zone. It's We've got a wood elf starting, not starting, but like we've got the wood elf racial city here, and kind of the newbie yard will be under here. But we look at all these zones as actual places, and expect that people are going to be coming back to them for years, and there'll be opportunity to discover things about the zones for a long time. And like we were talking about housing and stuff earlier, we think there's going to be value in all of the cities, and you'll always see people around all of the various cities, and weird places like that island where players may make their own little city and stuff. So it's really more about creating a good place and a good vibe, and something that's a place that you want to spend time in for years. I mean, like how many years have we spent running through, depending on what race you start with, on like P99, right? Like how many times have you gone through Steam Font to Unrest to or Steam Font to like Orkill to Crushbone to Unrest and stuff like that. And it's like a big part of the goal is just making the game feel like a place that has that kind of longevity for you guys. So, and the thing that we're really trying to do is to make everywhere in the game feel that way, right? So that as the game grows to be the full world that we've got in mind, that it's honestly, it's pretty vast and filled with weird shit that you'll continue to find, even after years of playing. So, and doing it in a way where that's not like just some, Kickstarter promise, right? Like it's easy to have big ideas and promise wild shit and then not know how to deliver on it. For us, honestly, it's just, we've got the legit challenge of time and getting stuff in, but we're building our systems in a way where, it's easy to add stuff over time. And we're, for as crazy as this looks and some of the stuff that we were talking about earlier, mounts and houses and ships and all this stuff, as much as it sounds crazy, it's still, so far, we'll let you know as the year progresses if this is bullshit, but so far it feels in scope and pretty doable. So, yeah. All right. Cage Manic said, "Agreed, Smile feels like a living, breathing world. Makes me want to get lost and find something weird." Like that type of comment, honestly, that's such a huge compliment. That's something that just feels like such a, and yeah, we've talked about that a little bit. It's like, who knows? Maybe once you guys get in here and you're in here all the time, the newness will wear off, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, it kind of just feels like a game, or I'm not finding enough interesting stuff, or maybe it'll feel smaller once you're in it. I think one of the benefits that we've had, is that we're not live yet. Sure. That could very well be the case, but I mean, that's, it's something we'll I guess see in the next year, and the intent's the intent, so we'll keep chasing that and see if we can execute on it. I mean, I guess the counter argument could be that every game, every MMO aspires to that to some degree, and wants to nail that feel, and the devil's in the details that make it possible or not, or yeah. So, but we're up for the challenge. We'll see. I think we'll do all right. I think you guys, from what I can see, have completely nailed feel, space, zones, etc. Curious about the rest. Yeah. Us too. So yeah, I think I want to hit a couple like personalization potential makes characters feel like your own. G-Welker says, I don't know, Eminem just feels different. I mean, I hope that winds up being the case. It'd be very cool. and some of what we're doing, like, you know, again, this could just be could be a little bit of like wishful thinking or whatever, but some of the stuff that we do, even I spent some time like on Sunday working on more lore for this area and the factions that you deal with and stuff. And a lot of it's just written while I'm writing. I'm thinking of like, man, I hope you know, I hope we're around for a few years so that at some point the players will eventually get to understand the intent behind this thing or find out, oh, that's what that was referencing, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm interested to see what population numbers EA is going to be able to support without feeling incredibly overcrowded. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. We're gonna learn more about that as we do the playtest. We're watching Pantheon's early access as well and seeing what we can glean, like what information we can pull from that. You know, kind of watch and see how their arc works, how their growth works, what scale they ran into, you know, and then we'll be looking at that, what content we have available, sort of what we think our zones can support, the best way to do server sort of rollout and player distribution, and then, you know, the timing on the collapse of that to keep things concentrated. We'll get a rough idea for how long it takes people to progress through various levels so you start to spread out more. I mean, we don't, you know, we've got a decent number of fairly decent sized zones already, like going into early access. We've got a fair amount of real estate, especially once you start to hit your like high teens and 20s. You know, sure, you're going to be looking at a shitload of desert for a while. Sorry. But you know, you'll be able to be distributed across like desert and shallow shoals. You know, you'll start to have access to more stuff like in you know, working through Sun Greets, into Glass Flats, into Fallen Pass, into Vale, Shallow Shoals, right? And so you'll have more and more stuff to kind of spread you out. And then hopefully we're just kind of continuing to backfill newbies. But we'll see. There's no way to come up with a perfect plan for it in advance. And I think we've created things in a way that's pretty adaptive, and we'll continue to run the tests and kind of see what things feel like. So the extra year will help. But yeah. And for some of the other biomes, like if you watch the Biome Jam video, you'll see that, yeah, we played around with lava, we played around with frozen area and things like that. While we won't have the full biomes in for some of those areas, we will likely give you some taste of that. There may be an island or two that you run into, or area or two that you run into that's got that's got a bit of that flavor, so that then maybe it will get you amped for some of the additional regions as they're coming online. So just imagine, like, as you're running around the desert, imagine what it's going to feel like when you got not only the desert, but more of these zones in the temperate sort of forest areas and deeper, darker forests. And as you're working, you know, eventually north through the forest, it'll be frozen forest going into frozen tundra, and we'll eventually have all the swamps and the various deep zones with their own unique flavor and all that. So yeah, it should be good. And if you guys are patient and you like what you see and you hang out with us long enough during early access, then there'll be a lot more of the world. And I mean, it's going to be a really big place. Like 1.0 of this game is, I mean, you see how big our zones are, and you see how big just this one region is. So imagine all of the regions have come together. So you should be able to play different races and classes and have pretty unique experience playing through the original game all over again. You should be able to like link up with your homies and twinkle them and stuff in different areas and see all new shit, and you know, find multiple best in slot sort of camps for different things distributed across the world that give you more than just one path to follow. So do you guys think you'll be able to recreate the awe of Kanos of Freeport at low level run? If we are able to deliver the 1.0 that basically takes you from the west coast, you know, southwest of Night Harbor, all the way to the northeast of East Tim on the other coast, it will be a very significant undertaking, right? I mean, we can, next time you're in for a playtest, you will be able to run from here all the way to Night Harbor, and vice versa, and you'll get a feel. That's just running up the coast, basically. East Tim is a human city, yeah. East Tim will very much be, you know how Night Harbor is like bright and sunny and warm and deserty. East Tim is dreary, and it's coastal as well. On the coast that's overlooking a very dark and scary sea, and it's drab and bureaucratic and swampy and corrupt. So it is it'll have more of a totally not even picked the any potential correlation with real world locations is completely coincidental. I was picturing, you know, dreary old England or something. I mean, we've referenced a number of different things in it, but Nick, what's the WoW zone? I'm completely spacing on it right now. If you're still out there, if you're listening. There's pretty decent, like, if you see it, East Tim, that kind of dreary city zone. Not Undercity. Is it Duskwood? I think it might be Duskwood. No. Yeah, like as you move east, it definitely has more of like that old kind of more drab European, cooler tones, like yeah, so, and it's there's I mean, we have a ton of Colts and all that stuff, but there'll definitely be a lot more, even more there. And oh man, this is gonna look great once it's lit and we get the fog and all that stuff. Is this how Americans see Europe? I live in Germany, man. I've lived in lived in Europe for 10 years. I'm currently in Germany. It is definitely it is not how I see Europe. What kind of cults? Oh, we just have all sorts of cults in. Mostly to different weird gods, but there is a big cult. You may have seen it referenced in here. I don't think it's spoiler of any kind. But you'll run into some of them in Glass Flats and Brotherhood of the Worm. They're a cult that likes to work with other cults. Cults involving naked gnomes? Sometimes. The Viennese sausage cult. Cults involving mounting a wasp? That's the secret handshake. It's funny, it's like you look and you think you're seeing the sky, but it's just actually fog and trees, and then you get a glimpse through the canopy up there. It's like, oh, okay, that's where the sky is. Will you guys force us onto the woods when we get to play next? Probably not. I don't know. There's not a ton of value in like forcing all of you into the woods. It's a lot better for us to force you into Night Harbor just because it allows us to strain many things at once. But odds, we'll see. We'll see what's online. You may or may you'll be able to get to the woods, but I don't know if we'll have you starting new characters there yet. It is fine for you to DM me in Discord, Smiley Bobber. So go help your friend move. I know that feeling of being a truck owner and helping people move. So yeah. I tell you what, I think I'm at a good point as well. We're rolling up on the 3-hour mark. That'll get me to bed a little bit. Well, probably not early, because I need to respond to a couple things. But it'll get me out here at a okay time. And like I said, hopefully I figure out what's going on with the headaches and a little more energetic next stream. Yep. I'm hopping into Slack right now, Nick. I saw there was a question there and I want to hop on that. But yeah, thanks for being here, guys. If you guys came in late, some of the stuff we were talking about with the player run island in Shallow Shoals is pretty cool. So maybe you can watch the VOD. Those of you watching on YouTube, thanks for sticking around this long. Be sure to comment and we'll respond to them. See you, Viro. Thanks again for the follows tonight. See you, Smiley. See you, Lich, Cagematic, Lemon Candies. G. Willikers, you're very welcome. Talette. Yeah, thanks for being here. Glad you learned some stuff. Thanks for you guys' participation and stuff earlier as well. Phineas, you're very welcome. Gnomely fans, have a good one. Yeah, sorry you came in at the end, but check the VOD. Mallow. Yeah, I do a lot of, there are a lot of nights when I'm not getting anything done, so it's fun to run around and show folks that haven't seen the game a little bit more of the game. So, glad you liked it. See you, Tannhauser, Darius, G. Willikers, Bill. Hope everything goes well on your end as well, buddy. Let's see. See you, Gilmer. Tsunami-san. Nick said, now I need to watch past you in the first couple hours of the stream. I think I get what you mean. I don't know. Does that mean catch up? Zach streaming? I looked earlier and I thought he logged off. Otherwise, I would have rated him. Shit. You guys run over there and grab him. You've always been a mod, Simon. Right. We'll raid him on Friday for sure. Tenderly, see ya first, see ya Poon, see ya Chat Solo. Like I said, I probably have some questions for you on computer stuff first. See ya XV. Alright, I'm gonna hit the button now. I'm gonna hop off. See ya Dark Inside, Crescents.